call this meeting of the Monongalia County Board of Education to order. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to start. We're going to start this meeting off tonight with in memoriam, and I'm going to ask for a moment of silence for Mary Jane Harrington, a former Monongalia County art teacher who passed away on December 26th. So a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Moving on to recognitions. Tonight we recognize National School Counseling Week proclamation. And it reads as follows. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential. And whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, talents, as these traits relate to career awareness and development. And whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further their education, personal and social growth of their children. And whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves. And whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society. And whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Therefore, I, Ron Lytle, do proclaim February 5th through the 9th, 2024 as National School Counseling Week. So, thank you very much to our school counselors.
Mr. President, I do have Courtney Crawford here this evening. Courtney oversees our school counselors, and I know she has a couple of comments for the board, and I think she has maybe some counselors with her tonight that she would introduce.
I do. So just on behalf of National School Counselor Week, I'd like to express my gratitude for the continued support of the school counseling programs in Mon County schools. We now have 36 professional school counselors in Mon County schools. That's at least one at every single school and program in our county. So all of our students receive support when they go to their school. And in that support comes not just the typical what you think of as a counselor providing that individual one-on-one support, but also very well-structured, standards-based education for students on all of those important things that help us grow as humans and members of society. So yes, I do have one school counselor who's joined us from our 36 tonight. Katie Fetty has been the counselor at Cheat Lake Elementary School for the last 10 years. She is one of our leaders in our school counseling team, and I'm grateful for her to be here to help express gratitude. Katie, do you want to help me pass these out? Sure. We just have a little token as a thank you.
Sure, we're going to test us.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We have no delegations tonight, so we'll move on to school performance, student outcomes, and academics. Superintendent?
Yes, well, we do have a school safety update for the board this evening. Mr. Adam Hankins, who oversees our school safety programs, will provide you with that report. So, Mr. Hankins, thank you for being here.
Thank you guys for having me. As Dr. Campbell said, Adam Hinkins, Director of Safe Schools Athletics and Title IX. I do have a brief safety update I would like to present to everyone this evening. As soon as I figure out how to work the technology. I did. There it is. So in school safety, we do a lot of different things, and we'll talk about a few things, but one of the main things that our priority for Monongalia County Schools from a school safety standpoint is to make sure that our staff and our students feel safe in the environment they are each and every day. If you feel safe in your environment as a teacher, as a student, you're more productive. One of the things that we talk about as another priority is affect positive student learning in the classroom. So you feel comfortable. If I feel safe in my environment, I have a more opportunity to learn and feel comfortable. One of the things every time we do a presentation with our staff, and I kind of say this jokingly, but I'm dead serious when I say this, is I tell staff members to build a positive relationship with their students. Because if a student is mad at you, and if a student happens to become an intruder in one of our buildings, the first thing they're going to do is look for the person they're not happy with, right? So I always tell them to build a positive relationship and to be nice to people. Sometimes I get a chuckle when I say that to the staff members, and then they realize, oh yeah, that could be true. And so we always encourage that they build a positive relationship with their students in each and every classroom. There you go. What do we currently do in our schools at this point? We work through three different aspects of it. We obviously have the prevention that we really focus on. We have secured vestibules in each and every one of our schools. Dr. Campbell has been a big part of that, continue it. Dr. Devano, when I first started off with this, that was a main priority of his that we build and we continue to add in each and every school that they have a secured vestibule. Dr. Campbell has followed suit with that to make sure that we continue to do that. Visitor registry. Anytime a student or a parent, student, someone comes into one of our facilities, they must check in with a secretary, they must check in with a front office admin and go through a component of checking in and even swiping their driver's license for what we call the Raptor system, which does a brief background check on a visitor that's in our building to help secure that. We have been very thankful and gracious to have school resource officers in our middle and high school programs. Those have been very helpful. We get to the point now where if our school resource officer isn't in the building, we have parents asking, "Hey, why is the SRO not here today?" And they actually encourage and feel more comfortable when they know that there's an SRO in the building. The most recent update we have done over the last 2 years, we have added weapons detectors at our 3 high schools. Started off a little bit rocky because it was a new program. Was getting some pushback from different people, from some community members, some staff members on the weapons detectors. Kudos to our staff members over the last 2 years, as we have one administrator in the audience here, Ms. Green from University High, getting her staff involved and want to be a part of that and helping that process go through. If you haven't received updates over the last couple years we've talked about, within 20 to 30 minutes each day, University High gets 1,300 to 1,400 students into the building and into a classroom. Morgantown High gets close to 2,000 people into a classroom within 20 minutes through these weapons detectors. So it's a deterrent, it's a safe method that we're using, but it's also part of that process where we can get kids in and out, and it's still very effective. The other things that we do for prevention is safety assessments. Over the last couple years, we've had an outside agency come in and go through our schools from the outside and the inside to just do an assessment. What needs to change? What could we do to make our schools safer, from trimming shrubs that allows you to be able to see outside of what's coming into your building, to removing some handles that may create a hazard that may prevent you from locking down. And so a lot of different things like that we've adjusted in our facilities, and just to get an outside point of view of what we can do to make our schools safer as people enter in our buildings. So those are some preventive things. Training techniques and training wise, we work through the West Virginia Crisis Plan. That's a state mandated program that we work through. Each and every staff, each and every school has a crisis plan that they would work through in the event that a crisis would occur. Part of that crisis plan is a reunification plan. If we would have an intruder, if we would have a situation where we have to close down a school, how would we reunify those students with their parents, and if they are even allowed to be with the person that's picking them up on that certain day. And so we work through that process as well. Each and every year we do an ALICE training with every staff member in Monongalia County Schools, from students to teachers to administrators and to service personnel. on how we would train and how we would react if an intruder did enter into one of our facilities. And then we constantly are practicing safety drills. We are required by the state law to do an intruder drill once a year. We do them twice a year. We do once in the first semester, one in the second semester. We were very fortunate earlier this year, and I can't remember the date, maybe September 20th was the date that we did for professional development. We were able to use University High to do a county-wide safety intruder drill where there was an intruder in the building and local law enforcement would come and react and have a response time, and they practiced themselves on how to capture an intruder or take an intruder out. And all the law enforcement agencies in our area, including state police and all the local municipalities, Sheriff's Department, Morgantown Police, Westover Police, Granville, Star City, everyone participated in that. It took all day to do it, but it was well worth it. They were very gracious that we could give them the schools. We were very thankful that they could actually get into schools and practice because it's very helpful to us. The third component that we deal with when it comes to safety is the mental health component. As we know that over the last 3 to 4 years, mental health components have really changed and impacted our school environments and the students that we work with. We work with the United Summit Center through WVU to do at-risk assessments on students when needed. We do threat assessments when we have a severe situation to find out, is it a legit situation? Is it just something else we can work through? Do we need to take certain actions? We work through a threat assessment protocol. Angela Hayes, our director of school psychologist, brought a presenter in to do a professional development with our staff members at the end of last year, I believe, on the threat assessment protocols and how we can work with students directly on that. We still have the mobile crisis units that we can use if we need an emergency where an outside agency comes to us and works directly with the student at the school when needed. And then we have many school-based counseling, community, mental health agencies that we work with throughout Mon County, throughout the state, to help us with those type of situations as well. What are we still working on? Here are the two major things that are really affecting schools at this point. Vapes are still a nuisance in our schools and still affecting the environment, and then our cell phones are really starting to pick back up and cause some issues with us. And so I wanted to kind of touch base on those things really quick. There we go. What are we currently doing for our vapes? So at all times we're working on an educational component. In our health classes we work with our students to talk about the effects that vaping has. Most recently we've done some different things at our high schools. It's called a hidden in plain sight, where we bring presenters in to work with community and family members on what could be in their house and they're not even aware of it, to help educate the families and community members with that. We obviously continue to use policies that we currently have in place that provide supports to students that are using vapes on the school property. We use that policy to maybe remove students depending on whether it's a short or a long-term disciplinary action. But again, the most important part, a lot to the policies that we use, are the supports that we put in place. If maybe some type of drug and alcohol counseling may need to be involved, so we use those supports as well. We currently have vape detectors in many of our schools that are located in the bathrooms. Those are effective to a certain point. They're more of a deterrent, but the kids have picked up on them a lot too, but they still know they're there, so it more of a deterrent at this point, but they have worked to a certain point. We have revoked bathroom privileges because a lot of these vapes are going on during bathroom times. We've revoked kids' access to being in a hall at a certain time or in a bathroom at a certain time if we know that they're working with another student to pass stuff around. So we've kind of revoked those type of bathroom privileges when needed. And then we've even placed adults in the bathrooms to do hall sweeps, to be in bathrooms to check on a more rampant base to make sure that kids aren't trying to slip in behind us. But we add adults into those as well. And so vapes continue to harass us a little bit, so we're going to continue to try to limit those. Cell phones. So this is one of the newest things that we're really working on, and we found some research that basically says limiting cell phone use in the school helps to improve social behaviors in our schools. The National Institute of Health demonstrated a significant association between excessive cell phone use and mental health problems such as loneliness, depression, physical health problems, including back pain and eye strain. So we have taken, and at the request of our middle school principals, we have kind of put in place a pilot program to remove cell phone use in our middle schools. And to be honest with you, it is very helpful. We are kind of put it in a pilot because we're waiting to see if we need to move it to the high school level. And just most recently, we've talked about we're having some issues in our elementary schools with the cell phones. And so what we are finding right now is we're getting very good feedback, not only from parents, but students and the faculty members, that things are getting better when we're taking the cell phones away from them. The biggest issue we had, I won't say we had a big issue, we had a few complaints from parents saying that their child needed a cell phone because of safety issues. If something were occur in the building, then they need to be able to contact people. We've kind of worked through that process. We've kind of explained to them the benefits of removing the cell phones from them and how it can be beneficial to them. And if their student needs to contact or use a phone, we have phones in the school in the front office that they're more than welcome to use. And if a parent needs to contact a student, they can call the front office. We can get them, we can get that communication to them. And so we are looking very strongly at adding these cell phone restrictions, cell phone removal into our high schools and elementary schools next year moving forward. You would be surprised as we do curriculum audits going around right now, how much praise we are getting from the faculty members of saying there's less distraction when the cell phones are not available to the students. And it may be as simple as I'll use, for example, Suncrest Middle School. We were doing a curriculum audit over there the other day. We walked into a room, or I was in a room as I was doing an observation, and there's this little compartment over in the corner full of cell phones. And I said, just explain to me what's going on. And kids come in homeroom in the morning, they have their cell phone with them, they stick them in there, they close it, it's locked. At the end of the day, they have a dismissal program where they go back to the homeroom, they take their cell phone with them, and they're on their way. And it's as simple as that. And they don't seem to be getting any restraint back from the students of not turning them over at this point. So I think it's very positive. I think it's something that's well worth looking into moving forward next year. Thank you. Next steps. What are we trying to build for next as we move forward? One of the things that I would like to start looking into, and one of the things that I think would be beneficial to our schools, is what we call, it's called a facial recognition. It's basically a computer program that basically you walk up to it, you look at it, it identifies your face, it actually picks up something from the eye. I can't explain that part of it, but it identifies if you are supposed to be in the building, if you are a student that is enrolled in that building, if you're a parent that is allowed to pick up a student. All that process is put into that, and it helps to recognize faces. I'll give an example. About 2 years ago in one of our high schools, we had students as they're coming through the front doors. We had a student that actually entered our building who had graduated 2 years ago. And with 2,000 students, it's tough to tell who's a student, who's currently a student, who's graduated. And so people were just walking into the building. So as a safety precaution, I think something like a facial recognition would help us to identify who's supposed to be in the building, who's not supposed to be in the building. And it just eliminates, obviously, if someone is coming to school that's already graduated, they're probably not there for the right reasons, right? And so I think that would be a component that would be able to help us keep schools safe as well. Would also like to add additional school resource officers if we had a chance. That comes from a lot of different holdbacks at this point of do we have enough people that we could even fill those spots with. As we all know, law enforcement agencies are trying to fulfill spots of themselves, but if we could fill those roles with certain people, then we would like to. Obviously, there's always a budget issue when it comes to that. It's not cheap to fulfill 10 to 12 more roles of a school resource officer in those spots. And then we also have noticed that we do have some fencing and barriers around certain schools that we probably would need to be able to work with to fence off and make those some of those facilities secure or more secure as we move forward and like that. So we've identified some of those, and so we can kind of work forward on that. But those are the next steps that we are going to continue to work on to help keep schools safe as we move forward. So, any questions for me regarding presentation? Yes, sir.
Yes, I really like that mock simulation at University High. I thought that
Yes.
sounded like a great idea. Did law enforcement share any of their reports with you, like maybe some of their shortcomings in response?
What
Like
reports?
when law enforcement
Yep.
came and
Yeah.
did their mock, did they share their reports with you as to like what they need to do better?
They do. So
Oh, good,
they,
good.
they were being evaluated, so they had their own evaluators going through that process as well. And so, yeah, we sat down shortly after that and brought everything together
Fantastic.
to show what we could do. They knew what they wanted to work on better. They had a lot of young law enforcement officers that were able to go through that, and they were able to walk them through of, hey, this, you did this fine, you didn't do this. And so, yeah, they were evaluating themselves as well, and then we're gathering feedback from us as we were involved in that as well. So, yes, it was very productive. Actually, one of the better things that we have done as far as safety training and drills, because we didn't know what we didn't know, because it was really the first time we'd ever had it. So
Right.
we've already have ideas to have the next one and how we can make it better. So,
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
absolutely.
I'm glad we were
some of
able to
those
pull it off.
officers have never been in a school before, let alone to be trained. You know what I mean? So it was
Right.
very helpful. Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Adam, share about the cameras, because we were so prepared with cameras. What did you have to do? You had to turn them off?
For the,
Remember?
okay. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm glad you
Yes.
brought that up. So part of that training also involved Mecca 911. And so they set up a station outside as if they were being called to, let's say we were shutting the school down, and they brought up a command station that set up outside, and we're able to communicate. So we gave them access through the help of Chris and her staff. They have an access point where they can actually, if an intruder situation would occur, they would set up a command post, and then they could log into our cameras to help find where that intruder would be as they go through, and then they can communicate live time of, hey, this intruder's in this part of the building, this part of the building. The first two intruders we did, they were able to find the person within, like, I'm saying it was under 2 minutes, closer to a minute, and finally the training officer said, turn those cameras off. And I'm like, why would we turn the cameras off? He goes, because we're not getting any training done. It's taken less than 2 minutes to get this done. We need our officers to be able to go through the building to try to search and seize and find news. So the cameras were tremendous, and they couldn't give enough praise to the cameras and how we could hook into those and work. So yeah, thanks, Ms. Talarico. I kind of forgot about that, but after about the first two, they shut them off, and they didn't want to use them anymore because their staff wasn't being trained enough. So
I was
yes,
actually going to bring up that same point, but kind of on a different one. When it went to the press, they were talking about that. The comment was made, we're going to try to do it in one of our schools that do not have it. And I would like to see us not say things like that. In
Yep.
other words, there's schools out there that don't have enough cameras.
Right.
We don't want to tell the bad guys,
Yeah.
here's the ones that don't have the
right.
cameras. And I actually spoke to the sheriff about it, and he said, yeah, it's a good point. And
Yeah.
we bring it up. But, and you're right, they had to have it turned off, and they love that. But you know, if we do the next one in a different school,
Yes,
you know,
we've
in
got
other
plenty.
words, when our things aren't working,
Yeah,
we need to know that, but the bad guys don't need to know that.
that's right. Absolutely. Good point. Yep.
Adam, I was going to ask one more, that you got me on the cameras here. Is there a movement to put, I know it'd be very expensive, but cameras in classrooms? Has that
So-
been discussed?
Not to my knowledge at this point, not in all classrooms. Now, as we know, we have cameras right now in specific special ed or special needs classrooms
right,
at that
right.
point. Yeah, but to my knowledge, not to put in any other classrooms that I'm
It is
aware
being discussed legislatively.
It's in legislation.
Yeah.
of. Okay. Okay.
Is that an unfunded mandate as usual? or-
I don't know. I don't know at this point, but
Sure
it
it
is
is.
being discussed legislatively.
Great idea, you pay for it.
And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's exactly what I was talking about. Now the bad guys know there's no cameras in the classroom.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was meaning is,
Sure.
don't tell our secrets out there, kind of a thing. The other
Yes,
thing
ma'am.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go right ahead, Mike, go.
I was back on the cell phone part of it. I think it's a great idea to limit them in the middle school and start there and not worry about the high school, because when they go to ninth grade, just continue it on. In other words, you
So
don't,
I'm glad you brought that up. Ms. Talarico, we've kind of been talking about that as we go through this pilot. We may even gradually work it into the high schools because, as you said, the middle school, it's already part of the middle school now, so they become a ninth grader, and it's part, then it kind of works its way
Yeah,
through the
you haven't
process.
taken anything away from them in high school because they didn't have it before
Right,
they got there.
correct,
So
yep.
it's going to take 4 years, obviously, to
Yes,
to go through
yes.
that. But I think that's a great way of
Kind of like a Chromebook rollout.
Yes.
exactly.
Middle schoolers have no business having cell phones. It's cool.
And neither do
And
elementary.
neither do that.
Yeah.
In my day, that wasn't a thing, but
Right.
middle school for sure was a thing.
Now they have them in the delivery rooms.
That's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have 3 questions. One is, and probably, I'm sure Courtney can help with some of these. Vaping nationally supposedly has gone down a little bit. Is that true here, or is that not true here? Oh, Mrs. Green, you're getting that question then.
Kim, remember, if you're gonna speak, you gotta come up to the mic.
I'll
Yeah.
speak for,
Yeah.
we have not seen it go down
You have not seen it
locally,
decrease.
let's put it that way, not with some of our schools. We have not seen it go away.
And I still say all the time, people don't realize you can buy vaping clothes and
Oh,
how
absolutely.
pretty the vapes are. You put the ugly ones on there. I
Right.
mean, I was just blown away by all the beautiful decorations on so many of them. Do we work at all with the State Department reps on school safety? I know they come to the School Board Association and do presentations and talks and stuff, and I didn't know if we ever brought them into the county to talk to our staff.
We do. So we have an officer that is issued through the State Department, through Governor Justice's Safe School Initiative, and so every region, they're placed regionally with a retired state trooper, to be honest with you,
Yes.
who comes in and also does evaluations of our schools. Our officer is a gentleman by the name of Clint Lance. He works with us, and he has a big region, but I talk to him constantly. He's come to our schools in this school district, multiple schools, 2 or 3 times already within the last year. And so he's always staying updated with us. I talk to him a lot. He keeps us updated on any type of new information. He also comes through and does evaluations, say, hey, I would change this type of stuff as well. So, yeah, very good to work with.
Well, because I do think people need to realize that the state has taken a look at this and they are taking it seriously.
Absolutely.
And they do have someone. So this next question, talk about making schools safe for everyone. So who's in charge of trying to work, I realize, with multiple people with the bullying? Because that, I think, is one of the most personal issues to anyone on there. Their student doesn't feel safe. We can do all this other stuff, we can have all these things in place, but there always seems to be students who just, 9 times out of 10, the bullies are very smart. I mean, they know exactly where to stand, where to hide, how to do these things. So how is that program going? Is that going completely through counseling, and is it a school-by-school basis, or?
So there's, as you said, there's a lot that goes into the term bullying and how it's happening, when it's occurring. Is it happening during school time? Is it happening after school? Is it on social media? Is it in person? Is it on a cell phone? There's a lot of things that go involved into a bullying situation. And my best answer to you is that all hands are on deck when it comes to a bullying, whether it's from a classroom teacher, whether it's a school administrator, whether it's from my office that we're working with, whether it's working with local law enforcement agencies that sometimes are involved in those, depending on the time of day it's occurring or when it's occurring or how serious it is. So all hands on deck. It's not just one department, it's not just the counseling department, and it's not just the school administrators. When we're notified, I'll be honest with you, if I'm notified, I'm always reaching out to the schools and we try to break it down from where it is. I'll use Kim Green as an example because she's sitting here. If Kim gets a situation, she'll reach out to me and say, hey, what else can we do? What do we need to work on this? So everybody's involved to the best of our ability on those type of things, and we're working through policies and we're trying to find factual information to go from.
Nancy, I feel strongly on this because it is such an issue, and we take it very seriously, and that's why it does take the team, so to speak. So Adam is a big piece of that, so is Courtney Crawford, so is Angela Hayes, so is Mike Ryan. It all folds into this mental health issue, and everyone from this office has distinct pieces that they contribute to this, because it's not a singleton issue, and it always involves a lot. And I don't care what grade level you are, and it's always personal. And it's always something that we are hugely concerned about, because those are the issues that we have to work on before we get to anything more serious. And that's what evolves into some of the things that, the reason we have to talk about school safety to the level that we do. And we're constantly vigilant. We're constantly looking at what we can do preventative ways. And most of that is, yes, the things that you're seeing here that Adam has gone over, which is the hardware and the vestibules and all of that. But the biggest piece here is the mental health piece. And it's huge. And it takes a tremendous amount of support. That's what your 36 counselors work on, your outreach specialist, your psychologist, Mike Ryan, and all of the work that they do here. I can't emphasize that enough, and how huge a piece it is of what Student Services does in Monongalia County.
And refresh my memory, years ago, if you were bullied in school, I use Morgantown High, you could use University High, but it's 90 acres there. The point being is, we're in school property, we bully it, but then we go across the street, and it continues. And years ago, there was nothing we could do once they got off the school property. But didn't legislation change way back to where there's something you can do if they are being bullied after hours?
So we always use the component of, even if it's happening off of school property, if it comes to in the school and affects the everyday school environment, then we're able to take action involved at that point. So
legally,
if
you're allowed
it's
to.
something that's happened outside but is brought in, which it usually does, and it affects the educational process or the educational day, then we are able to take action at that point.
I thought the legislation had changed on because they always,
Yeah.
wait till after school, I'm going to take you
Right,
across
right.
the street and beat you up.
Now it's wait till after school and I'll bully you on the cell phone
Yeah.
or social media or.
Well, that's why I'm saying, I mean, I'm thinking in one ways, that's one good thing about the cell phone not being in school.
Yeah, that's another
Is
component.
that constant barrage during the day, people don't have to deal with that.
Right.
Because they don't have it. Maybe they'll set it down at home. Because I really think I'm a social media, I can't stand it because of those type of things.
Yeah.
That people just can't get away from it. And they look at everything constantly, the 16 hours that they don't have the phone. So, I don't know, that they do have it, so.
It's very addictive. This thing happened, and it was away from here, but I was watching this woman. She was walking. She wasn't a student. She was an adult. And she was walking, and she was this close, going along, and I looked, and there was a snake coming out across the sidewalk. She never saw it. She stepped, and luckily she missed it. It went kind of between her legs as it was going on. She never saw any of that. And I thought, man, that's just too focused on the cell phone. It's very addictive.
I'm just worried about all the people bullying you on social media about.
I wanted to
school
bring that up, but I
cancellation
didn't.
problem.
And I thank you for bringing that up.
We ready to move on? We feel updated? Is Adam?
Thanks, Adam.
Coaching
Appreciate it.
Alliance?
Yeah, it's not that we can't get enough of Mr. Hankins.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't go anywhere.
But
He rolls it on to win now.
yeah, he's going to give us a report on the Positive Coaching Alliance, and I know he's brought some guests that he's going to introduce. But this is a program that I've asked him to look into for several years now, and I know he's been following up and been turning all stones over. And I think this is going to be a good one for us, and he's going to introduce it to you tonight with some help from his guests.
Absolutely, and I do have a group of guests here from WVU that are with us, so we'll give a chance for them to get introduced here shortly. But as you're well aware, and as Dr. Campbell, it's been about a year and a half that I've been asked to work with and find a way to get some professional development for our athletic coaches. We currently have about 250 athletic coaches here in Mon County schools that we employ through our middle and high schools. And we were just looking at ways to help provide guidance, some mentorship, some positive interaction with our coaches to help get some professional development. And I thought we had something really lined up. I was ready to go. I'd kind of presented to Dr. Campbell. We had a little bit of, a glitch, and it kind of fell through. So we started trying to look for something else, or started down that path again. Dr. Wyan here, earlier in the year, had asked me to come present to WVU and some of the student teachers about the educational field from my standpoint as a former teacher and now as an administrative role. And so I had the chance to do that. It was very positive, and it was a nice interaction with the students. And as I was leaving, he says, "Hey, have you had a chance to talk to Beth Bailey? She wants to talk about providing some type of getting maybe a partnership with this group called Positive Coaching Alliance." And I said, "Oh, no, I haven't, but let's talk." So then Beth Bailey and I had a chance to talk. We set up a meeting with the presenter from Positive Coaching Alliance and her staff members that she has here with her to present. And so we had a really nice meeting, had a chance to listen to a presenter. You guys will have a chance to listen to that presenter this evening as well. He's located in Philadelphia, so it wasn't quite a short trip for him, but he does have a video presentation that I think you guys will be very interested in. I want to introduce the staff here with these guys, though, and so I think this will be a great opportunity to not only provide professional development, not only for our coaches, but our students, and also the families and the parents that go with them, as we know that many times they need that same positive interaction with their students as well as the coaches. So with us tonight, though, I do have Dr. Autumn Cypre. Hopefully I said that correct. Dr. Autumn Cypre. She's the Dean of WVU College of Applied Human Services. Dr. Cypre brings experiences as a former public educator, not only from a teacher, but as an administrator, and now she is obviously worked up into the secondary component of that as well. But she is here, and she would like to introduce her staff and give a little bit more information about her. So if you guys could welcome Dr. Cypre, we'd appreciate it.
Good evening. I'm Autumn Cypre. Dr. Campbell, it is absolutely an honor and a delight to be in front of you this evening, and it's lovely to be in front of the members of the board, and thank you for making us feel so welcome. I want to make sure that I say that, yeah, we're doctors and professors, but that's Coach Bulger and Coach Wyatt and Coach Bailey back there. And I was principal, and I'm happy to do bus duty when you're ready to let me do that this week. And, I feel for you on your snow days, because I think you've had a few lately. And it's lovely to be with people that are on the ground doing really important work. And I come to you tonight, as you might have heard just a minute or two ago, as a former high school teacher. I taught chemistry and biology, and was the coach of the rifle team for a little while. And then I became principal, and I don't know if they're all related or not, but that is a true statement that my colleagues don't know, so surprise. I'm very, very much aware, I hope you can see and appreciate all the work that you are thinking about in terms of making a safe and orderly learning environment and an inspiring environment for students here in Mon County. And as the founding dean of the WVU College of Applied Human Sciences, which sounds very important, it's a college that serves as the home to the nationally famous, no joke, the world-renowned School of Sports Sciences. And I know for sure that it is world-renowned because I had heard first of the School of Sports Sciences before I'd heard about the brand new college they were making when I lived in another state. And I know that at times the world of academia can seem like we're all professors going by doctors, using words that cost $5 when you really just need to say something that is much easier to say. And so I consider myself and these folks around us, our colleagues, bridge builders and translators. And I love it when people ask me what I do for a living, because I usually will say I build bridges and I translate things. And that's kind of how our new college is going about the very difficult work of addressing the crisis in the classroom and the crisis in the teaching profession. And I know for sure that part of what we need to do to uplift our young people is to think more precisely and deeply about the relationship we have with the adults in our lives, most specifically coaches. And I know that the work of thinking all of that and making partnerships happen certainly does not take place in a vacuum. And I am so proud to be here with the three coaches who represent the very, very best of a nationally, internationally renowned program out of West Virginia University. Beth Bailey, who was seated behind me and was a swimming coach, she has worked ardently with Sean Bulger. You were basketball, right? Sort of. She worked with Dr. Bulger and Dr. White. What did you coach?
I'm currently coaching a first grade basketball team. Yeah.
Every day, all day. Perhaps you could teach Dr. Bulger a thing or two. It's too late. Well, we don't do things in a vacuum, and I have to say that what I learned the most from my old superintendent and from the principals that I admired is that people who lead schools are nothing if they're not being focused on really good work that captures lightning in a bottle. And really, I believe these three people represent that in terms of thinking about new ways to reach out and find capacity to help create spaces of connection for our young people. And so, on behalf of West Virginia University and the College of Applied Human Sciences and the School of Sports Sciences, I'm pleased to say that we are pledging the resources to help bring forward this initiative with the Positive Coaching Alliance to Mon County schools. And I hope it will be that way until I retire, and I'm never retiring, so there you go. And with that, I would like to introduce Dr. Bailey and to let you know that we're going to have a brief video so that you may experience this lightning in a bottle. And then Dr. Bailey will have things to share with you, and she might answer any questions you could have on the Positive Coaching Alliance or what it means to coach swimmers.
First of all, thank you so much for having us today. It is an honor to be here. I'm a parent of one graduate of MHS and two current Suncrest Middle School students, and yes, they don't mind putting that cell phone away. It's fine. But no, it's a privilege to be here. So, and I'm a proud parent for sure. So today we're going to be showing you a brief video. Brandon Whiting, he is the Mid-Atlantic Director of Partnerships for Positive Coaching Alliance. Positive Coaching Alliance is a national organization. They partner with schools, little leagues, all sorts of different sport organizations, as well as national governing bodies of sport, like U.S. Lacrosse and Little League International and things like that. So I'm going to just say let's get in on the video, because Brandon has wonderful things to say about the program. I'm not going to steal his thunder, even though he's not here.
Hi, I'm Brandon White. I'm the Partnership Manager for Positive Coaching Alliance in the Mid-Atlantic area.
Before joining Positive Coaching Alliance,
I had a long journey in sports. From my Little League baseball start to the high school playing fields that many of your athletes are playing on right now, to college and playing football at UC Berkeley, and to the NFL, where I played 7 seasons for the Eagles and for the 49ers. Sports has been such an important part of my life, and the coaches that I've had have been so instrumental in my development.
as an athlete and as a person. Because of my journey from Little League to Positive Coaching Alliance, I've been around almost every type of coach. The yellers, those that lack confidence because of experience, the vets who are set in their ways, the ambitious ones that are in it for personal gain and success. And I've also been around more than my share of truly fantastic positive coaches who believed in me and my team and really wanted to just guide us towards individual and team success, and who cared about our well-being and growth as people. Surprisingly, what I've found is that these coaches are not all that different. The great coaches were once inexperienced, and the yellers actually just want their athletes to succeed, but they lack the skills to do it effectively. Like coaches, there are different types of sports cultures. Some are rooted in negativity, while others just are focused too heavily on winning. And those kids either quit the game or find little joy from playing sports. What PCA tends to find as the norm is coaches who want to be positive but lack the tools. parents who struggle to communicate and support their kids. And in these ones, kids just miss the opportunity to perform at their best and grow as people. What PCA tends to do with schools is develop something we call the development zone. It's a culture concept where coaches can exhibit relentless positivity and use great skills. Parents can support their kids both on and off the field in those successes, and kids can perform at their best and develop skills that will last a lifetime. So I've used the word positive a few times. But what is a positive coach? Some people believe that it's just good job, good job, good job. Does it mean that everybody gets a trophy at the end and that competition doesn't matter? No. PCA defines positive coaching in some very specific ways. But instead of hearing from me, we have really great people involved with Positive Coaching Alliance that contribute, whether that's researchers or some of the people you'll see. I'm going to have you watch this video really quick.
The most important thing that kids and people want from us is that we care about them as a person, and to teach them that you do not have your self-worth connected to your skill level in something. They're two separate issues. You're a beautiful human being, you're fantastic, and that's it. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you're ranked, number 250,000 in the world or number 1. That does not matter.
Yes, there are expectations. Yes, there are great demands. But yes, we realize you're a human being.
A lot of times what they need is love and just a positive reinforcement.
This is something we all are in together as a family.
If you can be positive about what they're doing out there, they will listen.
I can get far more out of my players if I'm doing it with a smile on my face, with energy in my voice. I'm being clear in what I want from them, and I'm letting them know that I believe in them.
Being positive on a daily basis, you have a choice. You make a choice of, the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. You make a choice of bringing negative or positive to a meeting, to a relationship, to a basketball court, or to you.
PCA is one of the greatest organizations that I've ever been affiliated with.
I think having fun creates good team chemistry.
I get a better response, better effort.
We're going to be in their corner. We're going to be supportive.
Because I am demonstrating through my positivity, my joy, my excitement, that I believe in them.
It is crucial for coaches to send that message.
Every moment is a teaching moment.
You can help a child or a person believe in themselves. It's everything.
As you can see, positive coaches can still challenge their athletes to be better. They can be passionate and share that passion. They can hold people accountable, and they can go into seasons and games with the goals of competing to win. In fact, one of the research fields that PCA relies on is developing a growth mindset. Using this, PCA teaches a principle we call mastery, focusing on controlling what's in our control, things like our effort, our attitude, how we respond to things, and how we prepare. And research shows that when we focus our energy on and give 100% in these areas, we actually win more often than those people who are overly focused on the scoreboard and winning. Growth mindset and mastery are just one of our principles. The others have to do with creating caring climates, building trusting relationships, where we use positive communication, both verbal and nonverbal, to motivate. We also have a concept around sportsmanship called honoring the game, dealing with respecting our opponents and our teammates, and dealing with things like disagreements with calls, with officials. PCA also knows that it's important for us to use our platform to advance things like sports equity, both racial and gender, and to address issues like mental health and wellness. We've done that through some partnerships with the JED Foundation and providing guides and resources for coaches for that. So what's in a PCA partnership? A partnership with Positive Coaching Alliance is not just one day on a calendar where we come out and train coaches. A partnership with Positive Coaching Alliance is a 12-month relationship. We like to break up this relationship into a couple of key parts. There's the initial phases that we like to call the buy-in phase, which involves getting the word out there. Why are we doing this? Why is this important? This can be done through messaging like social media, emails, websites, and the leaders involved in the organization. During this time, we'll also work with the leaders of the organization, your athletic directors, on strategic planning. What is the best way to use Positive Coaching Alliance? What is the timing and what are the logistics around scheduling trainings? Then there comes the education, the workshops. Positive Coaching Alliance workshops are 90-minute to 2-hour sessions that are interactive with our trainers who come out to your facility to deliver interactive, tool-heavy conversations around concepts and ideas that can help make their athletes better. In these workshops, we'll rely on some of the people that you saw in the video that are on our National Advisory Board, but a lot of it will be discussion and the use of tools. After the workshops, we want to make sure that our coaches actually use this training. So it's important in the follow-up phase for us to use resources and other means to actually reinforce these ideas so that this wasn't just a box that we check, that it actually becomes something that coaches use when they're working with their athletes. And we've talked a lot about coaches during this time. This is Positive Coaching Alliance. But Positive Coaching Alliance believes that there are 4 key stakeholders within your culture. These are your leaders who are focused on creating culture, your coaches who are crucial roles within their athletes' lives, your parents who support culture and who can oftentimes lead to some of the negative things that are happening because of misunderstandings about their kids' experiences in sports and what their expectations are. And then the athletes themselves. At the high school level especially, it's important for young student athletes at this age to start developing some sort of autonomy in their own experience and to actually develop leadership skills. PCA believes that leaders on a team are not just confined to the captains, the 1 or 2 people who are chosen to walk out on the field to represent. Anybody and everybody on a team can contribute to leadership. In the end, we know that really positive things can happen when kids participate in sports that are done right. Things like higher attendance in school, better grade point averages and graduation rates, fitness, body confidence, and the soft skills that can be developed when playing in team sports environments. PCA has done its own research. Different studies that we've conducted have shown things like a higher commitment to the team, decreased negative behaviors, and increased sportsmanship. We also send out surveys to people who participate in workshops and who are part of partnerships that PCA has across the country. These surveys overwhelmingly show that coaches are more prepared to provide environments that promote social emotional learning, teach life lessons through sports. They even are shown that coaches have more rewarding experiences and stay in the job longer, and that they expect their athletes to participate in sports longer. I understand that this didn't answer all of your questions about Positive Coaching Alliance and how we work with schools, but hopefully it gave you a glimpse into who we are, what we do, why it's necessary, and what we hope to achieve through the partnerships that we form with schools. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that come up at this meeting today through email. I'm also trying to provide a frequently asked questions pamphlet that can be provided to you by the WVU folks. I thank you for your time. We look forward to partnering with your school district.
All right, thank you, Brandon. So, I'm going to have some help, if you all don't mind. We have some handouts. It does involve a cell phone with a QR code. But as you saw, Brandon was talking about the partnership and what it involves. What I have here, what we have here in this handout, the one side is a QR code, which if you scan it, you don't have to do it right now. At your leisure, it will take you to the entire proposal. On the flip side, that is the information I'm just going to go over very briefly today, and that is what is included in a partnership. First of all, I do want to mention that if you see anything about fees and such, that is something that is covered by the WVU, the College of Applied Human Sciences Positive Coaching and Sport Parenting Initiative Fund that was established in 2020. So just wanted to make sure we were clear on that. We feel very passionate about this project. It's something that can affect, all the student athletes and beyond in this community. We actually recently partnered Westmont Youth Baseball with the Positive Coaching Alliance, kind of as not as a test run, but that was our first partnership that we worked with. And we got outstanding results and comments on that relationship. So that was a success. So we have some experience with working with Brandon and his team, and they are excellent. Some of us attended a virtual workshop, and we were wondering, although some of us are in online education, we're like, how are they going to do this? It was outstanding. It was so interactive. We all left, with new ideas that we're going to be including in some of our own, practices. But it was excellent, and the in-person workshop was really, really excellent. And then again, the reinforcement of the resources, just really top-notch. And that's something that we can help if we go forward with this. That's something that we can help with as well. So as you can see, year one includes 9 live workshops. And with that, this is just what they have suggested as what has worked with other schools. They will be working, with us or with the school district to find out what really will work for the situation here. But with the first year, you have your freshman athlete assembly. So that would be any athlete, student athlete interested, in playing a sport. And they would do it at each of the 3 high schools. And then there would be 2 student athlete advisory council, something new, I believe, to this area. And again, that could be decided in the way that the school district or the athletic directors decide how that should be, chosen, how that would work out, the makeup of that. There would be one in the winter, one in the fall, and then one in the winter/spring. One would focus on leadership, another teammates, like making teammates better. And just so you know, you can, when you scan that QR code, it will take you to the document, which you can read more information about each of these different workshops in detail. And then there would be 3 coaching workshops, one for fall, one for winter, one for spring. That could also include high school as well as middle school coaches. And then finally a parent or family workshop, and that would be just talking about how can families support their student athletes as well as the coaches and behavior at games and things like that. Year 2 builds on year 1. So you might have some of the same, like you would have the same freshman assembly, but then the student athlete advisory council would be the next level. Same with the coaches. It would be the next level, diving in deeper to the content that they offer. So that is how that would lay out. Again, all of this is just one example of what could be, but the Positive Coaching Alliance, they work, like I said, they work with many different school districts, and they will personalize this to make it work for what we need. Let's see. So we hope that this gave you a bigger picture. We would love to answer any questions that we can answer at this time. And then if you have any other questions in the future, Adam, you can hook them up with my contact information. Also, Brandon, waiting his information, he said he's more than happy to answer questions as well, if anyone has any. So thank you again for your time. And are there any questions?
Board members, any questions?
Adam's probably going to ask this question, but do they do self-evaluations to the coaches? In other words, first thing sit down, how do you think you're doing? Is that part of this program? Or, I guess my question probably was directed more to you.
Yeah, so to be honest with you, that's a question we could find out. I do not know the answer to that. I'm sure most programs do have some type of self-evaluation involved, and you're talking from the coaches' self-evaluation of themselves.
Of themselves. I mean, we do self-evaluations.
Right.
Superintendent does, so I think it's a very positive tool because it's an eye-opener. And you fill it out, and you're like, I'm doing a great job. Well, then when reality hits, you're like, I'm not so good, kind of thing. And I've never seen that. And your coaches, would that bother you if you were asked to do a self-evaluation?
That's a standard part of coach development, coaching education,
Yep, that's good.
Any other questions, board members?
So I see this as a real positive. I think this is part of what we've been trying to work towards, having the coaches have even a summer stipend day where we've tried to do some types of development. I think the buy-in from some of our coaches will be one of the most challenging and interesting parts of all of this, because as many of you know, there's just not only so much time in the day and so much time in a season and all of that, and most of our coaches are all teacher coaches or have other employment. But what I think is going to be interesting is when you get to the family part, because what most families are upset about is playing time. And I don't know how, I'm looking in here trying to see, where does it address playing time? Because I think it's going to be interesting to see what each different group thinks is the most important things. As we all know, most student athletes not go on to be professional. They're lucky if they get to play in college and get to help pay for their education. And even then, it's a job. It's not all fun and games. So I'll be interested to see how the implementation, and do we have representative coaches or a coaching group that you will start this discussion with?
So I have not had any direct conversation with them at this point. However, one of the, as you guys know, we try to do some type of professional development with our coaches, if not every summer, every other summer. And ideally, we're always this is the type of thing that we're usually looking for, whether it's bringing in a special presenter or a former coach or a new coach coming in through the WVU process, as we did with the ladies coach at WVU for the basketball team a couple years ago. And so this is what we're looking for, in my opinion. I would hopeful, if this is something we can move forward with, we would start them this summer when we at the end of this school year. We'd have our professional development. That would be our first interaction with the coaches, and then we would start building from there. But that would be a good opportunity to get all middle and high school coaches involved, because that's who's usually participating in that. And then that'll give us a great input. But I can start reaching out to different coaches through the administrators and through myself, because I'm having to say, hey, this is what we're thinking. What are you guys thinking? But usually the hardest part is getting people to find the time to come to a professional development. Once they get there, they usually love it, to be honest with you. But as you said, time's always an essence. But if this is something we can start planning for now, and we can get it on their calendars, on their schedules, and it's just part of their daily routine at this point, it should be beneficial to them, in my opinion. Yep.
So will you be coming back to us to have an action item to adopt this at a later date?
We can do that, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Am I reading this right? I'm looking at the double stars here. All fees included in this proposal will be paid for with that's awkwardly worded there, the WVU College of Applied Human Services. You're paying for that?
Yes.
That's really refreshing. And I don't want to sound like that guy, but it seems like when WVU comes to our meetings, we have to get out our wallets. So, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I hope part of this program too, kind of tag on Nancy, a lot of them aren't going to go on to play professional. A lot of them aren't going to make the team that they're looking at today. So hopefully they have, and my concern is, I go out for football and I'm not going to make it. He said, you'd be a better race car driver than what you are. So, letting them down to say, let's find what you're really good at, because I think every human being is good at something. It's just, get them funneled into whatever that sport might be or whatever. So I'm hoping that it has something for our coaches to be able to say, you've worked hard, you've did this, but you're just not a golfer, or something to that effect. So I'm assuming this program touches on that, because we've all had that issue. If you've had kids in sports or whatever and they don't make the team, that's their world right then. So it's you can either crush them for life, or you can say, okay, baseball's not it. I'm gonna go try golf or whatever. So I think it's very important that the coach knows how to convey that information, letting them down easy with a positive way. So hopefully it'll be in that program.
Well, I mean, even if you look at our basketball programs, I think when you're in the elementary school, you don't realize that the community schools program is there for basketball teams of boys and girls that don't make the high school team to be able to compete with each other and still play and still have fun. And it's another way to do something you may love, but you may not just be good enough to get on the high school team or the middle school team. So, I mean, I think this could be a great opportunity for all of our students. I would like to be.
I like that it seems like, at least, it's more than a check the box, one and done. It's involving the coaches, the parents, the kids, and it's including all of the kids, not just the top performers. So I think that's awesome.
Offhand, do you know how many student athletes we have in our school system?
So I don't know that exact number, no, but like for instance, I know that I was trying to get University High, Morgantown High, and Clay Vattel's. Morgantown High has approximately 800 kids. University has approximately 600 kids. Clay Vattel has roughly about 200 involved in athletes through the 3 high schools, and that's just because I was in a communication with them. I have that numbers roughly in my head, but I don't know the numbers in the middle schools.
Curious, percentage-wise, out of our 11,600 students, how many are?
A lot of our students are involved in something, some type of extracurricular activity.
Well, yeah, I know that band or whatever. I was just curious as far as sports. Really. Which that number's got to be way higher than it was 30 years ago because there's so many more sports.
There's a sport for everyone.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for this partnership, for reaching out, and we look forward to it.
Thanks for bringing that price down to where Dan was good with it.
We will not be offended if you guys walk out the door right now.
But you are absolutely welcome to stay as long as you'd like.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
We're really good at not letting that bother us. Okay, moving on, Superintendent, B.
Mr. Lytle, I absolutely hate to break the flow of this meeting, but I have breaking news for the Board of Education prior to our next topic. I just wanted to let the board be aware of something that we are beginning to work on in relation to our staff here in Monongalia County and how we are preparing them for the successful bond for the Renaissance Academy. And this is a program we're undertaking, and I have to share this news break with you. So please pay attention to your screens at this time. Board members, I do want to let you know that if you heard in the breaking news, we are going to be introducing you, the board, to 5 of our future students who will be attending the Renaissance Academy when those doors open in 2027, and allowing you to have a glimpse of what their day or their week will look like as a student, both at their home high school as well as the Renaissance Academy. And we will be sharing this information globally, but with a heavy concentration on our staff as well, so that they can see also what their life as a teacher would look like participating in the Renaissance Academy. Mrs. Green is not here just for our board meeting. She is here to begin the presentation and to introduce you to one of her students, Amelia, who is a 12th grader, and to describe what her week would look like as a student at the Renaissance Academy. So, Mrs. Green, thank you.
Thank you. So, I do have the pleasure of introducing you to Amelia. If you look on your screen, you'll see, can we actually start with that first one, Chris? This one? Yes.
And board members, you do have a copy of what she has on the screen. So, sorry, Kim.
Amelia is a 12th grade honors student at University High School. She came to UHS as a freshman and already had a Spanish credit, and then continued along in Spanish, and so she's taken Spanish 2, 3, and 4, so she is fluent in Spanish, and that's an interest area to her. She's also interested in event planning, and she's taken intro to hospitality and tourism already, and Travel West Virginia. So she is on track to be a completer in our hospitality and tourism CTE area. So this year, in her senior year, she will be attending the Renaissance Academy and University High School. So this is a look at her schedule while she goes to UHS. She will be there on Mondays and Wednesdays. She's in a dual credit English 12 class. She also is in AP Government, and she's in AP Stats, and then she has an experiential learning class. After school on those days, she also is, she has drama practice. As you probably know, we have a very strong theater program at University High, and she's very interested in that. Now, the Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday classes add some real variety to her schedule and her life. So if we can turn to that, Chris, I'll go over that a little bit. So on Tuesdays, and these could change from week to week and day to day. So here is just an example. On this particular Tuesday, she gets on a bus at 7 a.m. and it takes her to the Renaissance Academy. She gets there about 7:30 a.m. and she gets off the bus in her full Renaissance Academy uniform. And after she gets there, she goes to a meeting with her advisor, where she discusses a group project in her AP Stats class, and also the stakeholder presentation she's doing in her dual enrollment English class. They also discuss her internship hours, and then after that she goes to the student bistro for a quick breakfast. At 8:30, she heads over to the learning stairs to hear a presentation from the local president of the Chamber of Commerce on the expansion of the hospitality and tourism industry in West Virginia. After that, she goes to a debriefing with her hospitality instructor on the presentation that they've just listened to. And then at 10:30, she has a little bit of independent study time where she goes to a learning lab and works on some things. From 11 to 12:15, she has a hospitality class where she goes with her instructor for that. And then 12:15 to 1 o'clock, she has lunch in the Commons area. And then 1 to 2:30, she, again, is very interested in the English Language Learners program. So, and again, she's interested in event planning. So she's working with our English Language Learners staff with Mon County Schools on an ELL family night. So she goes to a planning session from 1 to 2:30. The ELL nights are very special interest to her. And then at 2:30, she catches a bus home on that day. On Thursday, She gets to the Renaissance Academy, and she works a shift at the front desk, and that's part of her training with her internship for her hospitality and tourism certification. At 11:30, she goes to the Learning Lab to confirm some arrangements for the ELL Family Night. At 11:45, she has a quick check-in with her advisor on that ELL night. And then at 12 o'clock, she catches a bus to her job at a local catering business. On Friday, she doesn't need to come back to the Renaissance Academy until 9:30, when she meets and collaborates with students from UHS, MHS, and Clay Battelle, who are also doing different things on the ELL night. She works with putting together some packets for the family night. She works on a presentation for the evening with some other students. She also meets with ProStart students on the menu for the evening, also with the graphic design class, talking about finalizing the programs and doing invitations, and then also the marketing students to go over the advertising for the event. And then at 12 o'clock, again, she gets on the bus to go work a 6-hour shift at her local catering job. And then on Saturday, she works a 6-hour shift at her catering job. All of those things are going along with her event planning that she's very interested in. When she graduates, she will have experience with her CTE certification. She'll end with a portfolio. She'll have a certification that will all go along with helping her get a job in her field. It will also help her with entering college, which she's very interested in doing. She'll also have earned credentials. She'll have a food handler's card. She'll have OSHA certification. She will have confidentiality volunteer training, which we will have put her through the Mon County Schools volunteer training. She'll have Google Suite certification. She'll be able to use Google Docs, Sheets, all of those type of things. So we feel like she will be in a very good place for whatever career she finds to do. So she'll have lots of career ladders that she will be able to climb however she wishes to do so. There are, if you look at the bottom here, there are some stacked credentials, different career pathways. She collaborates with other students in the graphic design area, ProStart, baking and pastry. Lots of collaboration among other students in different programs. And then we've also listed some potential careers for her. So it really adds a lot of flexibility to our students. They have a lot of choice in it. We think the advisor that they will meet frequently with will be very beneficial to giving them, our students, some input in how they want to guide their learning, and they'll have a lot of choice in what they're learning and what they're doing with their future. High interest, I think, has high engagement for our students is what we found.
So this is portrait number 1.
Yes, Mrs.
Yes.
Green, thank you for introducing us to Amelia. As we mentioned, there'll be 4 other students that we'll be introducing the board to at future board meetings, who are all going to be different students, and we're going to share with you their weeks, as well as the week of a teacher. One of the reasons we felt like this was really important was at our last board meeting, many of the questions that were generated from the board really revolved around programming and what life will look like for these students in this type of educational environment. And we want to share that. We want to share what those different things will look like with you. And so plan to meet some different students and some of our staff as they enter the world of the Renaissance Academy. So with that said, I know we want to move on to the business at hand, which is the actual consideration of the bond call. And Mrs. Green, I appreciate you doing that again. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I just want to say this was a lot of work put into this. And is there do we have plans to make this public? 'Cause
Yes.
I get calls and emails, what is this? What is this? And I go through, tell them what it is. But I really think, seeing a student's schedule like this, oh my gosh, I think it really breathes life into it.
Absolutely,
It really does.
absolutely.
Thank you.
You're so right. Yep. And I thank all the people that did this, because we really requested that they do this like that.
Right.
The request came quickly, and you're right. There was a lot of work that went into it, and they did a fantastic job, both with the breaking news. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Teresa. And all of the folks that we brought together from the CNI team to be able to create this for you and the community as a whole, because I think you're right. It's so important to make sure that our community understands not only what the facility looks like, but what life is going to be like, and the benefits that our young people are going to gain from having this in their community and being able to attend a school of this nature.
Right, and I think what makes this really stand out is we have an outstanding MTech program, but our MTech program currently could not do this, could it? We couldn't.
No.
We couldn't do that. We need this renaissance. It's great, great.
All right, so, board members, I do have on the phone our bond counsel and our folks who put this together for us. So if there are any questions after I do make the recommendation, we can have those. They've been hanging on there patiently with us. But so I'm going to read this as I did last week because of the technical nature of it. So, this is consideration of and possible action on an order of the Board of Education of the County of Monongalia. A, authorizing and directing an election to be held on May 14th, 2024, for the purpose of submitting to the voters of the Monongalia County School District all questions connected with the contracting of a debt and the issuing of public school bonds in the principal amount not to exceed $142,640,000, determining the purposes and estimated project costs, utilizing the proceeds of such public school bonds, and determining the maximum principal amount, the maximum interest rate, the maximum term, and other parameters of the proposed public school bonds, approving the form of the ballot, and authorizing, approving, and determining other matters related thereto. Superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve this consideration.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, board members, as the superintendent stated earlier, we have our bond counsel and our bonding agent on the line. And for questions, are there questions of the board for this consideration?
I do want to just interject that I know there was some discussion about language at the last board meeting. We did have an opportunity to meet with bond counsel and our bond agent, and there were members of the board present who took part in some wordsmithing related to that. Those changes were made, and there you can see those changes this evening.
No questions? Hearing no more questions, all in favor of the proposal as presented by the superintendent signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion passes. Superintendent, accounts payable addendum.
Thank you, board members. Exciting moment.
It was a short moment after a lot of work.
Thank you guys for being on the line. We are going to move to our accounts payable addendum. First this evening is our accounts payable addendum A. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the addendum as presented.
I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Nancy and Jen. Any questions or comments?
Doesn't someone have to leave? Yes.
Oh, I thought it was.
Oh, is that me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Gotta recuse myself.
I'm like looking, going,
I apologize.
La La
to
Land
you. Usually I put it on there, so I know, but I didn't.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor of accounts payable addendum A signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. High tech around here. Okay, superintendent, moving on, consent agenda.
Superintendent recommends that the board approve the consent agenda as presented to include item A, expenditures exceeding $3,000. Item B, the payment of salaries and accounts payable. Item C is our WAJR agreement for Ask the Educators. Item D, our WVU psychology agreement. Item E is our WAJR agreement with for MTech. And item F are your minutes.
Okay, need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got Mike and then Dingen. Any questions or comments, board members?
I have a question about the Ask the Educators. Is this our last year for doing this?
That is something that we are planning to keep advancing on with our own communication
Right.
studio. So we're not there at this point. So yes, this would be something that we would take a serious look at as we continue here developing our own level of outreach and communications. That's why we added that studio here to get to that place. And so yes, we're in a phase program, I guess is the best answer I can say.
Okay, because I know I'd asked this question last
did.
year, and I knew that we were moving
We
towards
are.
it with the facilities we have now.
Yes. Yes.
We could save about, what's that, $10,000?
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I want to ask about letter 4 on it's about North and that design development or
Oh, yes, that is a
Yeah,
fee
explain that,
from
'cause-
our architect, which was a different percentage due to some extra work.
So when we rebid out the project.
Yes.
The
Okay.
project cost increased, so because the project cost increased, then the architectural fee also increases.
Oh, okay.
And that's the difference.
because it's a percentage of the
Yes.
total cost. Okay. All right. I was just confused. I thought, do we have to design something else
No,
also? I was
But we
just-
went back out, as you know,
Yes.
for the second time. And I will say, we are working with a wonderful company that got the bid by this board, Veritas, and we are underway. And so it is a wonderful partnership, and they are very responsive. And we, like I said, intend to have this all ready for the opening in August. And yes, we do have a few hiccups and a few jackhammers. Dr. Campbell has notified the community and our staff, obviously, of those things but they are not interfering with the day of the students. But there is perhaps some noise that is a slight distraction.
Yeah, that some of our younger napping
Yes,
rooms are
nap
not
time.
thrilled with. That seems to be
yes.
the only thing I've really heard, not much else from anyone else.
That is
so.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, comments? All in favor of the consent agenda as presented signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. Board member updates.
I'll go with the MPO. I finished my term of chairman and turned the gavel over last week, actually. But one of the things we did was add another member, which we've not done in our history since I was fortunate enough to be able to be chairman on our 20-year anniversary, which I enjoyed that immensely. But we also added MAP, Morgantown Area Partnership, to it's a non-voting member, and we've added that to our board, which I think will be very valuable because it encompasses a lot of other entities within them. So I look forward to seeing what we can do there. So our current chairman for 2024 is Joe Statler. And I think, of course, he had to miss it because he was in Charleston. But so anyway, that's the update where we are right now.
Anybody else?
Well, I don't know if this is where to put this. Under the updates, I was going to ask that we have the Renaissance Academy on every agenda. So if there is something to discuss with an update about that, that we have that opportunity to ask those questions. I think the superintendent shared some interesting information about what it would have cost for us to build University High School today compared to what it costs for us to build it when we build it. And just the increases in the different fees that have come up since that time has, I don't want to say almost tripled it, but it was amazing. And I think things like that are really important for us to present during these meetings. So people that want to be informed about costs, the Renaissance Academy, and different things that are going on with that would be able to see that. And I also would like to request that we get the list of folks that are interested in being on the stakeholders committee as far as informing the public about the bond call and everything that goes with that, so that if we have anyone that's approached us individually and wants to be a part of that, we can let the superintendent know, and then he can contact those folks. Because I know there's a real process to having a successful bond call go out. So,
Teresa, can you pull that slide up? Mrs. Walker, it's a great point about the cost of UHS if we build it today. And I did have that information available. I didn't go into all of the details that I shared with you all. But we compared apples to apples as much as you could, and you really can't because the two schools are different. But what we did was we translated the cost of UHS at building University High School in 2006 and what it would cost today to build the same facility. We're not building another 9 through 12 high school. We are building a state-of-the-art STEM and career and technical education facility. So the two schools really are hard to compare from a pricing standpoint. But I think it's important, as Mrs. Walker pointed out, to see what it would cost to build just a standard high school in the state of West Virginia today. As you can see the cost difference. The site preparation, construction cost, furniture and equipment for 2006 for University High School was about $32 million. The estimated cost of that same facility, if we were to build that today, is $112 million. So when you compare that to the cost of the Renaissance Academy, which again, it's hard to compare the two. It's impossible to compare the two because they're not the same type of facility. But the cost at about $150, $160 million, somewhere in that neighborhood, is what we're looking at for the Renaissance Academy. I think when you start to look at the cost, comparable cost, you can understand why the cost is what it is. Those are just, we talked about Herbert Hoover High School and the fact that it's well over $100 million, and it's a smaller school than University would be.
It'd be about half the size of University.
It would be about half the size, yes. So I do thank you for bringing that up, and I just wanted to share that with the board as well and have that ready for you. And I would like to reiterate Mrs. Walker's request to the board members. If you have the names of people that you would like to see us approach in relation to being on the bond committee, please get those names to either myself or to Teresa as soon as possible. I will be releasing a letter tomorrow to our stakeholder group in relation to that very topic. But it's very important that if there are names that you would like us to approach, get those to us. If they're not on our stakeholder group already, we will be reaching out to them individually and determining whether or not they'd like to participate as well. So it's super important that we get those names ASAP. So if there's somebody you know, please get those names to us.
I was going to say Nancy and I, in 2006, had sticker shock at the 30. And we were talking about, wow, this costs a lot of money to build this school. And now you look, like you said, fast forward it, and I still have sticker shock, 30 million.
I mean, we only had a $50 million bond, and
Exactly.
we were just like, how are we going to be able to complete all these projects? And luckily,
A lot of creative
We had-
financing,
creative financing, we had
QSAP funds. And
QZAP funds, we had large, over $1 million donations from 2 different entities. We also had the funds that were generated from the pilot. And
Yeah.
so that it took a combination of all that to complete the total building program. We were able to complete the total building program that was proposed because for one reason, that was our statutory requirement. There was no way we could not complete it. But we were able to complete it at the standard to which this community expected and
we got
we needed.
real education in prime, multi-prime type.
Prime, multi-prime, and a whole lot of other things. And we were able to, I think, create quality buildings, which are going to carry us way into the future.
I guess the reason I bring that up is that was a lot of focused work, and that's what this is going to be, a lot of focused work to get where we need to go. It can be done, is
It can be
point.
done.
My board member updates, I intend to go to Charleston now that we have approved this, and Monongalia County Day, I've requested, seat at the table with the chairs of the education committees and the leaders in Charleston. And for 2 reasons. I mean, one would be to educate them on what we're doing, because they're asking that question. Because now's the time to start looking at state leaders and start talking about how we're going to transform education here and how that'll lead to the transformation of education across the state, which will lead to transformation of life in West Virginia as far as bringing better jobs, better paying jobs to the people that live here. And then also give them the opportunity after I talk to them to let them ask me questions. So I'd like for us to start thinking about how we're going to begin to educate people, not only locally but across the state, on what we're doing and what this is going to mean for education, and how in every change that I've known in education since I've been here, the first thing they do at the state level is ask Monongalia County, what would you guys do, and will you do it, and show us what a successful pilot looks like. So I look at this as a pilot for future of education. We're making decisions based on decades, not just a little bit of time. So this isn't something that's going to change the next 10 years. It's going to change the next 50 to 100 years as far as what education is. So what a vision, and we need to get rolling on that. But I am going to go down there, so I'm going to request that the administration gets me as much information as possible. And with that request is so all the board members here. I'd like to meet all 5 people, all 5 students before I go. So, informally.
Can we tag this with the presentation or things of the future on the end of the YouTube?
Things of the future.
Things of the future. Whatever they're going to do in the future as far as education. I mean, like if they're tuned in to watch our board meeting, when it's done, okay, you want to go further, click here. I should be looking at Chris because she's the one who would have to do it. Is that something possible to do? Or? I'm just thinking if we have a captive audience, if they've lasted to the end, then they're very interested. I mean, because our meetings are pretty long. I was just thinking, and then we could put, here's the news of the day. Here's where we are at this point with it.
Anybody
Because
else?
again, all we can do as a board is present information.
Right.
It will be the committee
Yeah.
that will be able to
Push for votes.
talk about funding, ask about voting blocks in certain areas, and do things that legally the Board of Education can't do in this election, which is confusing. But I do think our website should be a place that all this information also should be able to be available.
Okay. Hearing no other board member updates or general conversation, superintendent policy.
We do have one policy for initial introduction this evening. That is policy 9150, school visitors. And Jennifer will give us an overview of that.
This is a revision to policy 9150. It's a result of passage of House Bill 4012. And that is the House bill that prohibits the board, any board agent, or any school employee from imposing a COVID vaccine mandate or requiring proof of a COVID vaccine for entry into the schools. So this just includes that additional language that's now in West Virginia Code.
Which transcends to, they apply for that, they don't have to.
Correct. Or if they're just visiting the school.
Right.
Thank you, Jennifer. Superintendent, personnel matters.
Yes, let me pull up my materials here real quick. Okay, first is our personnel list, a regular personnel list. I don't have any changes to that, so superintendent recommends that the board approve the personnel list as presented this evening.
Need a motion?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Oh, sorry.
Question about, so we're starting summer avalanche hires
Yes.
Oh, yes.
already?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I see these site coordinators, some of these site coordinators on here.
Okay, all in favor of the personnel list as presented, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
So we have no new positions this evening for your approval, so we'll move to our personnel list addendum. I do have one minor change. On page 1, line 11, if you would add the letters CTR at the end of that. CTR is Clinical Teacher of Record. That's a certified student teacher being paid 60% of the regular teacher salary, and that's what that person is being approved for. So I wanted to make sure that was added in there. With that addition, the superintendent recommends that the board approve the personnel addendum as presented.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the personnel list addendum as presented, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Moving on to superintendent's contract.
I have a quick thing before because I want to go into executive session for that. And I promised I would ask this. The snow days on the state of emergency, does that count against our days? In other words, we had a state of emergency, we called school off.
State of emergency is not applicable to local school districts.
So obviously we wouldn't abide. So does that help us or hinder us?
It doesn't help us.
So they're going to charge us for that
They're
day?
going to charge us as a
Okay.
snow day, yes.
But we could, in fact, have school if we wanted.
We could,
Okay.
yes.
I promised I would ask that question, so got that cleared up. With that said, I'd like to have an executive session for personnel issues.
I need a second.
Superintendent contract.
Sorry. You moved, so we need a second.
I think,
All right.
I made that.
All in
more
favor
long-winded.
of going into executive session, signify by aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay.